Okay. But do you remember the story of the film? I'll remind you the story. So I fall in love with a widow who I meet literally by accident, in which I very nearly kill her mother-in-law. Then I marry her. Not the mother-in-law, but the widow. The widow is not keen on the marriage because she still loves her late husband, but she marries me anyway. My rich, mean father disapproves of this unison and does what a rich, mean father does. He tries to kill the widow. And I'm naturally disgusted by his behavior. And after a long 2-page standoff with him, in which I use heavy-sounding Urdu words, I leave the house for good. Then for some reason, apart from the fact that I ride my motorcycle without holding the handlebar, I have an accident. Seeing me so forlorn and sad in the hospital bed, my ex-widow wife falls in love with me. And there is something about absolutely sick men which always attracts women to them. I've noticed this. The sicker, the better. Then again, by chance or fate, I rescue a stranger at night from a bunch of goons, and guess what? He turns out to be the original husband of my ex-widow wife, who hadn't died in spite of his inheritance-hungry uncle's best efforts. Now, evil uncle then decides to kidnap me and my ex-widow, now not so ex-present-day wife, to get hold of his nephew. I escape his clutches, and I come back with my wife's undead husband to rescue her. By now, she's of course strapped to a bomb. And do you think they'll take my doctorate back? Well, she's strapped, of course, to a bomb, and after a liberal round of fist fighting, kicking and screaming, the evil uncle is blown to smithereens by the very same bomb that he had strapped on status-confused lady of the film. But not before the sacrificial ex-husband had done a kamikaze, unstrapping his ex-wife and set the bomb off, killing himself in the bargain. All obstacles removed, our hero lives happily ever after with his beloved wife. I'm not sure why the movie was called Deewana, which in Hindi means madness of a particularly nice or romantic kind. But I have a feeling it had something to do with the guy who wrote the plot. So here's my first life lesson, inspired by the movie titled Deewana. Madness of the particularly nice or romantic kind is an absolute prerequisite to a happy and successful life. Don't ever treat your little insanities as if they're aberrations that ought to be hidden from the rest of the world. Acknowledge them and use them to define your own way of living, the only life you have. All the most beautiful people in the world, the most creative, the ones who led revolutions, who discovered and invented things, did so because they embraced their own idiosyncrasies. There's no such thing as normal. Normal is just another word for lifeless.